And welcome back to Chicago Bulls Insider. Today we're talking about if the Chicago Bulls should trade down in this upcoming NBA draft. And so before we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button. Just like Modest Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. So make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. We're talking about should the Chicago Bulls trade down in this upcoming NBA draft. And so if you've not got a chance to see the most recent trade rumors heading into the NBA draft, it looks like that the Orlando Magic are rumored to be looking to move Cole Anthony and Jonathan Isaac along with their 2 picks in the first round to upgrade their roster. And so they have pick number 16 and pick number 25. And so to be clear, they are not linked to the Chicago Bulls, but it does bring up an interesting point, and one that I do think that the Chicago Bulls should in fact explore, because this would mean that they would get 3 picks in this upcoming draft. And I think with 3 picks, you could definitely change the course of this franchise with those 3 picks. And so let's go ahead and start with the 2 players that are mentioned. And so you can go onto Yahoo Sports and also to Clutch Points if you want to read about this. Kevin O'Connor from Yahoo Sports is the one that brought this up on his podcast, by the way. And so let's go with Cole Anthony first. And so with Cole Anthony, he's coming off a down year. And so one of the things that was mentioned in the article is that he took a little bit of a diminished role this last season. And he definitely did, because when you look at the numbers, only 18.4 minutes, which was down from a season ago. And then when you look at his scoring, 9.4 points. And so before that, in all his other seasons, he actually had scored in double figures. And so definitely a down season there. When you look at the steals, 0.7 with the steals, 0.5 in the blocks, 2.9 with the assist, 3 rebounds. Now, the percentages were solid, 82.3% from the free throw line, 35.3% from the three-point line, and 42.4% from the field. And so I do think that Cole Anthony would be a solid pickup for the Chicago Bulls. I think he definitely could help the Bulls off the bench as far as giving the Bulls a little bit of a scoring punch. I think he would fit in the offense that the Bulls currently run. And I think that he fits a little bit of what Trey Jones did for this team a season ago. And so I don't anticipate that the Bulls are going to bring him back. Although I would love that, but I don't think that that's going to happen. But I do think that Cole Anthony would fit that role a bit. Now, what I do like about the Chicago Bulls going out and possibly doing this deal is that if they do get Cole Anthony, the contract is team friendly, because he's only making $13.1 million for 2 seasons. And he has a club option, which means that the Chicago Bulls could go ahead and just simply not pick up the option on the last year of the deal. And I think that if they decided to trade him, they could, because this is a contract that is very movable, especially with how much he makes. Now, on the flip side of this, when you look at Jonathan Isaac, this is where I would pause a bit if I were the Chicago Bulls and I were looking to do a deal with the Magic, because Jonathan Isaac did not have a good season, and he's really been injury prone, I think, since he's been in the NBA, because he's definitely struggled to stay on the court. And so that's one of the first things that you would have to ask yourself if you're trading for him. As far as the offense is concerned, it really wasn't there, because this last season, 5.4 points a game, 0.6 with his assists, 0.9 with the steals, 1.1 with the blocks. His free throw percentage, 68.2% from the field, only 25.8% from the three-point line, and 41.4% from the field. And so he really struggled offensively. Defensively, I mean, he is a very, very solid player. But again, it's when he's healthy. And I think that another thing that really would make me pause if I were the Chicago Bulls is, as far as thinking about a possible deal with the Magic, is that he is owed $60 million on his contract, because he's at 4 years, $15 million per. And so $60 million for a player that is just not playing that much. I mean, that's something that I think that the Bulls would certainly have to think about, But again, he would give you some front court depth if he's on the court, not going to give you too much offensively. In fact, so far, he's only had one season where he's averaged double figures, and that was the 2020 season where he averaged 11.9 points a game. And so that would be something that I think the Bulls would have to just pause a bit on. But the upside, again, is that you would have pick 16 and pick number 24. And so, to get a deal done with the Orlando Magic, I think that one of the players that would have to be on the table would be Coby White, because if they're looking to upgrade their roster and they feel like that they're right there and they feel like that they're a piece away, then perhaps Coby White would be that player for them as far as what he would provide as far as scoring for that team, what he would do to go alongside of Franz Wagner, and then also to Ben Carroll. Like, I think that it would be a good fit. Now, I'm not in the camp of moving Coby White, but I do see that it would make some sense if they were to do some business here with the Chicago Bulls, if they were looking at Coby White. Now, keep in mind, I mean, there are going to have to be some other moving pieces if the Chicago Bulls were to be interested in this deal with the Orlando Magic, because when you look at the salaries, those would have to match up. And then when you look at the players that potentially the Orlando Magic would want to take a look at, maybe it would be Ayo as well. So, I mean, I would throw that in there as something that could be a possibility. Lonzo, I mean, with his $10 million, I don't know if that's something that they would take a look at, because remember, he does have a team option. And so like Cole Anthony, it is team friendly here. Maybe one of the centers could be a player that could be on the move as well, especially if the Chicago Bulls are going to address the front court in the NBA draft. I've said this before on yesterday's video that it really could make a Jalen Smith. It could make definitely Vooch or Zach Collins on the table, more so if you are bringing in a front court player. And so that's something to think about. And I do think that, again, if the Chicago Bulls were to make a move like this is something that could help your franchise, because I've said this before, you need to hit on your draft picks. And so you get multiple bites at the apple. And so is it worth it to move, Coby or somebody else to get these 2 picks, especially in this draft with the way that it's supposed to be loaded? That's something that I think the Bulls should definitely think about. But with that contract situation with Jonathan Isaac, that is something that certainly I would pause on there. So next, I wanted to talk a little bit more about some other teams that the Bulls could maybe potentially trade back with. And so one of those teams would be the OKC Thunder. And so this is according to Jake Fisher, who earlier this week, I think he named 3 teams that rival executives believe could trade up. And so the Magic were one. They have picks 16 and 25. We just talked about them. But the Thunder, they have picks 15 and 24. And so the question is, would you be willing to make a deal with the Thunder in order to get those 2 picks? And so I think that that's, again, something that the Chicago Bulls should explore. Do the Chicago Bulls have something that the Thunder might want? I mean, that's something that we would have to see, but I do, again, think that this is another way in which the Bulls could get multiple picks and be able to just really upgrade this roster quickly here. And next, with the Nets, they have 18, 19, 26, and 27. And so they're reportedly looking to move up 2 as well. And so I'm not sure with the Nets. I think I've been seeing that they had something where they might be looking to include Cam Johnson in a deal if it is something that is going to get them up there. And so that is another question mark too as well. Like, would that be something that the Bulls should explore? And so you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking there, if the Chicago Bulls should in fact explore a deal to move down in this upcoming NBA draft. Because one of the things that was mentioned earlier by Casey Johnson when he was on 670 The Score is that he feels that the Chicago Bulls are going to really take their time with the process here. And in fact, if you go over to Bleacher Nation and you look under this particular article title, you'll see this excerpt, but it'll take you to the 670 to score interview that he did. And he was talking about he doesn't expect for the Bulls to make a big splash in the market this offseason. And so that would suggest like a trade that would be a huge splash. I think that if the Bulls were to trade back for multiple picks, that certainly would be a splash. But he's saying that, look, he's thinking that they're going to try to do this slow and try to do it the right way and get draft capital. And so that's going to be interesting here what the Chicago Bulls do. But you guys let me know in the comments here if the Chicago Bulls should trade back or if they should stay right where they're at. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And as we always say, go Bulls. And I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.